The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus said to Nicodemus, "Just as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whoever believes in him may have eternal life. For God so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, so that everyone who believes in him may not perish, but may have eternal life. Indeed, God did not send the Son into the world to condemn the world, but in order that the world might be saved through him. The one who believes in him is not condemned, but the one who does not believe is condemned already, for not having believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God. And this is the judgment, that the light has come into the world, and people love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. For all who do evil hate the light, and do not come to the light, so that their deeds may not be exposed. But those who do what is true come to the light, so that it may be clearly seen that their deeds are done in God." The Gospel of the Lord. One year ago, on this fourth Sunday of Lent, I wore these same robes, and the altar was decorated with the rose, as it is for this Sunday, but there was only one person sitting out there, and that was a seminarian, David Rio, who was manning our solitary camera. Now we have 5 cameras, a whole lot of you, still the same rose vestments. And I can honestly tell you, I got a phone call today from Father Doug, and he said, "I have a pink mask for you if you'd like it." Someone made. I said, "Well, thank them very much, but tell them that probably I'm better with the ones that I'm used to." So I am grateful that at least things are looking up, certainly, from what they were a year ago. And I'm grateful for the generosity of spirit with which all of you have tried to put up with all the constant changings which we've all had to deal with during this past year. Some years ago, a priest, a professor, a friend of mine, wrote an article entitled "Representative Figures in the Fourth Gospel." It became actually quite a famous article. And it was writing about different characters who appeared either exclusively or primarily in the fourth gospel, St. John's Gospel, and how the evangelist, the writer of that gospel, was trying to make a particular lesson out of, or example, out of each one of them. And one of those representative figures is Nicodemus. And Nicodemus appears 2 times in John's Gospel. The first we hear from today, and the second we will hear from when we read the Passion on Good Friday. Nicodemus was one of the leaders of Israel, a prominent man in Jerusalem, a part of the Sanhedrin, which was a governing body of 70 elders of the Israelites, who, in these times, under the watchful eye of Rome, were responsible for much of the local government of Judaism. And he was interested in Jesus and what Jesus had to say. But he was also afraid of what people would think if they knew that he had this interest. And so he comes to Jesus by night, under the cover of darkness, in order to receive teaching from him. And here we're hearing a portion of that teaching which Nicodemus received from Jesus. One verse has become quite famous. You might sometimes see on large events, sporting events and others, people holding up signs, John 3:16. Now that we no longer have to have our license plate on the front of one's vehicle, although I still have mine there because I don't want two holes showing, I've seen a few times around town where people have license plates or replacement plates that say John 3:16. And what is it that's in John 3:16? It's these words: "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, so that everyone who believes in him may not perish, but may have eternal life." That's John 3:16. And some have said that's basically at the very heart of the gospel, as John's gospel would put it. And then later on, we see Jesus speaking in imagery of light and darkness, because he's speaking in the evening to a man who's only dared to come out under cover of darkness. This is the judgment. The light has come into the world, and people loved darkness rather than light because their deeds were evil. For all who do evil hate the light and do not come to the light, so that their deeds may not be exposed. But those who do what is true come to the light, so that it may be clearly seen that their deeds have been done in God. This is the first time we encounter Nicodemus. As I said, the second time is on the day of Jesus' crucifixion. And after seeing Jesus lifted up, as this passage also says, so must the Son of Man be lifted up. And after seeing Jesus die on the cross, something turned in Nicodemus' heart, and he was no longer afraid to come out into the light. And so along with Joseph of Arimathea, they went to Pontius Pilate publicly, and they asked for the body of Jesus. And they took spices and wrapped the body of Jesus and placed it into the new tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. And that's, I think, why my friend chose Nicodemus as one of the representative figures about whom he wrote. A man who at the beginning was interested, wanted to know more about Jesus, but also wanted to protect his reputation and didn't want anyone to know about it. The same man later willing to come out and stand up publicly and let people know that this Jesus meant something to him. And because of that, he is still remembered not only as one of the names of so many out of the Bible, but also as one of the saints of the church.